New developments in northern Syria. The president ordering all U.S. troops out of the area, about 1,000, according to Defense Secretary Mark Esper. This comes as Turkey presses forward with its offensive against Kurdish fighters amid fears of a mass slaughter of our Kurdish allies and civilians. And now Syrian officials are saying that in the wake of that assault, hundreds of ISIS prisoners have escaped. Trey Yangst live in Jerusalem with more. Trey?
Arthel, good afternoon. Major developments this weekend in northern Syria as Turkey does continue its advance on Kurdish forces. We are getting some breaking news in just now about a deal that has been brokered with the Assad regime. Those Kurdish forces are going to partner with the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad. This was brokered by the Russians in an effort to try to push back against this Turkish invasion. Here's what we know so far about the deal. It is going to allow Assad forces, these are Syrian government forces, to take control of the entirety of the border between Turkey and Syria. This will effectively ensure that U.S. troops cannot return, something that has been the goal of both the Russians and Syrians over the past 2 years. While the U.S. takes a hands-off approach to the developments, there is new evidence this weekend of civilians being targeted, war crimes being committed by Turkish-backed rebels, and ISIS fighters escaping prisons. President Trump tweeted multiple times this morning about the situation, saying he is dealing with Congress about imposing sanctions on Turkey. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan claims that more than 20 Kurdish villages have been taken over by his forces. He added that Turkey will advance around 20 miles into Syria to help maintain the country's territorial integrity.
We will divide a terror corridor of 480 kilometers down the middle. We will advance 30 to 35 kilometers into territory suitable to the safe zone map as we declared before.
As Turkish airstrikes continue to bombard Kurdish towns over the past few days, U.S. forces actually came under Turkish fire. No American soldiers were injured, but the group had to withdraw from their position. As these bombings take place, the Syrian Democratic Forces say ISIS fighters and family members have escaped a camp and a prison in Syria that were hit with Turkish shellings. And today, at least 40 civilian casualties are being reported since the beginning of the operation on the Syrian side, as well as 18 on the Turkish side. The United Nations says 100,000 Syrians have fled amid this new round of violence since it began just last week. To give you an idea of the situation on the ground, today we are getting reports that Turkish forces and Turkish-backed rebels have taken over some key roads in this region. In one instance, a prominent Kurdish politician was reportedly dragged out of her car and executed on the spot. The worst of humanity is unfolding today in Syria, as President Trump tweets. Congress considers sanctions that wouldn't be put into place until a later date, and the world watches. Arthel?
Trey, let me confirm. So you're saying that Kurdish forces are combining with Assad government forces, but not, this is to the exclusion of U.S.-backed Kurds.
So what we are going to see is a lot of these Kurdish forces who were previously backed by the United States taking over towns that U.S. Special Forces actually fought alongside these Kurds to take back from the Islamic State. Those Kurdish forces in northeastern Syria are now going to work with the Russians and the regime of Bashar al-Assad. This is a major development because this is exactly what Russian President Vladimir Putin has been trying to do in Syria over a very long period of time. Ultimately get U.S. forces out of the region and then help the Assad regime regain control of this area. What this is going to do is basically vanish the entire Kurdish portion of Syria. They had previously been almost a sovereign part of Syria, allowing them to operate within their own governance and the such. But what we are seeing moving forward with this deal that is being brokered with the help of the Russian government is the regime of Bashar al-Assad, which has previously fought many of these Kurdish forces. They're going to be combining and pushing back against this Turkish invasion, trying to secure the border between Syria and Turkey.